what we're going to speak about. Thank you so much, recording lady. So this is the space brought to you by the amazing partner in West Hong Kong. Day after, actually, you get to hear from them in a keynote. So I'm really looking forward for that space as well. Thank you so much. Because of these kind of partnerships, it enables us to do better conferences and better youth engagement on CP. So this is the last space actually we have in the EVA track at RFS. So we have gone through like productivity, MCV, management, AP initiatives, performance management by UCI yesterday. In the morning, you had a space with Isru about project management. How was it, guys? I wasn't there. I was in a TM session. How was it? Just want to hear from you. How was the space? You enjoyed it? You like it?
It was very nice. It was really fun. There was, fun activity, and then he explained everything really well. It was very relatable, very self-reflecting kind of space because you could identify things you need to improve upon. I personally loved it.
Nice. Thank you. I hope you were able to manage the birthday party of your friend. Okay. So yeah, and this is the last space for LC initiative management for EVA. So this space is again we're going to co-create, as I mentioned. Before anything, you hope you know me by now. I'm R&D EVA PM. So this is going to be the objective. You become aware about the principles, brand, how to create systems, how to track, governance, overall branding, and routines and stuff like that. So just want to remind again, circle back to what we had decided. This is a safe space. Even though this is like now, but then we're gonna grow soon into like a very big and important commission, which brings a lot of revenues to the entity and impact a lot of people, especially when our exchange products are not bringing in the kind of the volume of impact which we used to do in the past. So all eyes are on EVA right now. EVA is the new hot thing in the global revenue. So, and especially in AP, like when I talk to all the other commissions, also all the other regions, also they're all looking forward to AP EVA commission. Because traditionally we have always been like one of the most proactive commissions, and usually in AP things get done first and faster, and then other regions follow. So AP has already contributed to a lot of GCPs, and then the whole global plenary is also looking forward for this commission to become grow a lot and also contribute to a lot in the global media as well. So in order for us to make that happen, we need to trust each other and make sure that we are a sacred circle, know that this is a safe space. Feel free to share your initiatives, concerns, your doubts. There's no stupid question. We are friends and all of this together. We feed forward each other, we feed back, and then we make sure that we grow together as a commission, and last but not the least, we trust and help each other grow. So just wanted to remind you once again with that. And with that said, let's begin with this session. Are you with me? Give me a thumbs up if you're with me.
Yeah.
So before even we begin, I want to ask you a question. Okay, how many of you already have EVA initiatives in 2020, which is from January to May, which you're already running with your LC? Just raise your hands if you have initiatives which you're already running with the LC. India, Pakistan, Cambodia, Indonesia. Okay, what about you? Vietnam, MOC? LCs themselves running. That's interesting. Jalil, how does that happen? Jalil, can you explain?
Hello, everyone, firstly. So basically, I think last year we did not have any EVA focus from the national office. We did have MCVP for PDPR, but there was no direction sort of. So all of the VPs who didn't have a lot to do, they started working on the LCPs, sort of innovated with them and started working on their own initiative. For instance, like career building workshops, like having OCs for that. And then there were some projects running within the departments locally. Like for instance, in my LC, when I was VP for Incoming Exchange, we launched our own program, which I think shared with you as well, called Beyond Borders. It was like a 3-week virtual program with an NGO, and then having high school participants as being part of it. So the MC wasn't really involved in it. It was just an LT initiative. And right now as well, I see some entities working on so boot camps, like SG boot camps, and like some workshops as well. So yeah, it's like they have their own sort of initiatives, but we do on the MC level, we would have like impact reports that will be shared with the MC. And similarly, there would be like an ECB audit for EVAs as well. So that was the most that was happening nationally.
I see. Interesting. Yeah, that's really nice. Like they are able to come up with the initiative themselves and running it. I'm just curious to know how you're governing it on a national level as well, and how what is the direction in 2021. Keep that thought in mind. We're gonna come back to it. I just want to hear from someone else. Maybe Kairavi. How does it happen in India? You texted in the chat that LCs and MCs do it in a collaboration. They're separate.
So we have different events, like for example, Young Leaders Day is an event run by the MC, but all the local committees. So they essentially are also involved in the entire project, but it's run by the MC. However, something like Youth Speak Forum, every LC does on their own. For instance, the Change Makers Day, it all happened on the same day. All the LCs did it on the same day, but individually they had similar projects, but individually they conducted that. So it just depends from project to project. They are either we do it in collaboration or they run their own innovations.
That's interesting. I was aware about the Youth Speak, but this Young Leaders Day sounds very interesting. So, do you do national sales for it, or does LC can sell it themselves when they do it?
So currently, we are. Last year we did Young Leaders Day. Today, like this year again, we've started sales for it. The MC does sales for it. We also, give an opportunity for the LCs to do sales. So both MC and LC does sales for the same.
Interesting. That's very interesting, because I was checking actually India report. Like I saw the growth in the revenue contribution from EVA. Now I know it's coming from like Wildly and Youth Speak Plus. Thank you for sharing that as well. Emmy also shared we have Youth Speak national in 3 regions. So now the national initiatives for leadership conferences. That's nice. That's very interesting. So yeah, exactly. This is the kind of collaboration and communication we want to have in this commission. So thank you so much for sharing as well. ACE itself. Predecessors, you have these 3 choices, and we discussed yesterday initiative session that you want to continue the current UI initiatives or portfolio which you have, either national, some of you are already doing, as a Youth Speak. To the national portfolios which you already have, maybe Young Leaders Day, or Chalit mentioned the social initiatives which LCs are running, or the leadership conference happening in Vietnam, or from Indonesia yesterday, what Nico was mentioning, the youth day which you do. So do you want to continue running those in 2021, or do you want to, in addition to those, you want to improve those, like based on how it happened in the last version, how Kairavi mentioned, like in first time Youth Leaders Day happened, they gave it to LCs and tried doing sales and stuff. But now you have like a longer timeline to plan properly for the sales, and now even more LCs could be onboarded. I think Eco was mentioning yesterday that out of 28 LCs, like 25 or 26 LCs are already onboarded to some of the initiatives, and you want to improve it to have like all LCs doing it and stuff like that. So this is the first option you have, that you continue want to run initiatives in all LCs. The second option you have is innovate and create new EVA products or new EVA programs. So then it comes from like starting from the scratch, like how do you design it? What should be, what is the process and everything for it. And the third thing is you want to run H4TF, which is an addition in the global portfolio which you have. So do you want to continue doing it or not? So you have really 2 options. So when you come up, a lot of people ask me this question, or MCBs ask me this question. So shall I just stick with the global portfolio, stick with myself, just Youth Speak and the H4TF, or shall I innovate and continue with my current and new national portfolio? So, and by the way, in the global portfolio also, I don't know if you know this, the Youth Speak is also going under reform right now. So there will be like a new guidelines for Youth Speak. There will be like a refreshment to Youth Speak, which is coming up. Because as I was mentioning, the whole Youth Speak actually started with the idea of Youth for Global World Movement, but then because of pandemic, like the external context has changed a lot, and then the focus on SDGs is reduced a bit. So how do you want to revamp the whole movement and stuff like that? So we're actually looking into the past 5 years progress of Youth Speak, the previous surveys, the reports and everything, and we are checking how, as a global organization, as a PR direction, as a marketing direction, how does it make sense for us to do Youth Speak? We're not scrapping it, we're not dormanting it as a local volunteer. We're gonna continue doing it, but we are innovating more things into it. So you will receive new guidelines soon. So like just a disclaimer or a heads up that you may have to change your branding and stuff like that a little bit. So if you're signing like a very solid contracts with partners, just beware that there might be some branding changes coming. So yeah. So what should I like? How? What should I? The common answer I give MCPs to this question, so it depends. I know I should know better, but then it really depends on your entity context and like what sort of a market, like what is your strategy? Like when I say, for example, I was having a consultancy call with Jalebi, booked me last week, and he asked me about a lot of things. You want to do this, you want to do that, you want to work with world's largest lesson, you want to work with social initiatives, you want to club some OGV initiatives into EVA product and stuff like that. So I was like, after understanding all the context, I gave him certain direction. But then if I ask, I can't give you like this answer directly that we should innovate or not innovate. Like that really depends on the context of the entity. And this is a decision you need to take in the upcoming planning. This is a thing, I don't know if it's already on the board, I don't know if it's already on the agenda. Push your MCP to put it on the agenda, put on the docket that you want to have this conversation about with my BD commission, in synergy with marketing, in synergy with finance, in synergy with the PR department, whoever is responsible, in synergy with OD person, in synergy with TM for the structures, that how do we go ahead about this? So there are a lot of questions, right? Because it's not a simple choice. It really depends. Like how many LCs you have, how much of them have really a capacity to say even lose money for first like while doing this, and then gain probably it's okay for them to take this risk. How many of them have the talent capacity to invest in the CC or the OC, or how many of them have like a proper compliance mechanism that they can work with the national branding guidelines, or they can actually sign proper contracts with the company, they have like a legal standing, whatever. Like it really depends on your market reality. And last but not least, it majorly depends on the kind of direction you want to have as an MC for the EVA initiatives itself. Like how do you want to engage youths in your market? That's really at the bottom of the question, right? Is it through different programs? Is it through different events? What sort of an initiatives you want to plan? Like, for example, Eco was giving examples yesterday. He has like 2 or 3 programs and 2 or 3 initiatives, and that's how their direction is in their market, right? It really makes sense for, say, a country like India to have Youth Speak localized, because their local markets are very different. Like it happens in 25 LCs. Right? So when it happens in 25 LCs, like nationally, they can sell it even better. They can go to partners like, say, Coca-Cola and say, hey, you're going to get outreach, like Coca-Cola presents Youth Speak, and you're going to get outreach in 25 cities and maybe 30,000 youths in India, and then we can sell those. So this kind of outreach really depends on your market, but that kind of a thing may not be feasible for a smaller entity, maybe like a Nepal or maybe like a Bangladesh, where they might have to come up with or even for, say, in some cases entities like Vietnam, they have more regional strategies when it comes towards events, because in some of the regions they have really high concentrated LCs. And one of the issue comes up is like, how do they divide markets between LCs and stuff like that, even in Pakistan, for example. So it really depends on how to come up with the answer. But then these are the 6 things which remain common in coming up with all the initiatives, okay? So I'm going to take you all through the 6 things and how to actually manage LC initiatives. And then I'm going to put you into breakouts to discuss you more how you actually do it, what are challenges you face, and then we can take forward. Cool. With me so far? Give me a thumbs up. Amazing. I can see Eco, Kairavi, and Jelly. So you turned on his screen and they are on. Okay. Let me also see his thumbs up. Cool. So let's start with the design. Okay. So design. So how do you design itself? Like how do you design any national initiative itself? I've taken this screenshot from the Innovation Academy. If you've gone through it, you know this. So some of the factors we wanted to take into consideration before anything is any initiatives you come up with, current or the new one. So far, it was not required to be governed, but right now, if you want to run 2021 onwards, because it's going to be post IC, it has to be followed by the EVA principles. So make sure it follows the brand principles, finance principles, and also it's really it follows ISEC. It's about leadership development and it follows ISEC portfolio overall. After you mention that it follows all those things, you need to have like a proper research if you want to come up with your own initiatives. Like first, what is even the customer or the market needs in your market? Like, do you like, even if it's a national initiative, like can your needs of the customer met through an existing program or tweaking those existing program, or you need like a completely whole different initiative? Is that a thing you need to do? Second thing, the entity capacity itself. Like how many, if I decide to do it, say in Pakistan, say how many of the 9 or 10 LCs, right? How many of the 9 LCs? You have 9 LCs. 11. Okay, you increased one. Expansions. 11 LCs can actually do this. Like, is it going to be just limited to Islamabad, Lahore, or can even your ISPs and any other LCs do it? Stuff like that. Like small things, right? You need to take into consideration, like how the talent is going to be allocated. If you want to roll it out openly, like nationally, like whole nationally, then does it even make sense for all the customers in those markets? So this is a decision you need to take. Then the overall timeline restrictions. Like right now, I think because things are virtual, one of the advantage we have is a lot of people are available and a lot of people are like, their availability in the calendars have really opened up. A lot of people have become more tech savvy. Even, for example, it's easier for you to get really high quality speakers for your virtual events because they are available simply. So timeline restrictions have reduced a lot, but there are still things like university exam timetables based on your national budget, whatever. Like say, for example, in India, companies don't pay you in the month of February, March because it's like a budget closing month and stuff like that. So whatever BD timeline your country follows, so those timeline restrictions, take those into consideration. And last but not the least, take into consideration the subsystems evaluation. So this is something you can push in your MC planning or in your synergy spaces with other departments, where you evaluate the subsystems across your LCs for your current and new initiative portfolio. So when I say subsystems, is all the ISEC subsystems, which is your brand subsystem, your finance subsystem, your HR subsystems, your information management, your platform subsystems, and your product subsystem. So these are all the 5 subsystems. If you want to take into consideration, like have synergies with respect to them. What like if I need to come up with a say new initiative, how do I synergize with my platform? Do I need a website for the new initiative? Do I need like a separate tracking? How do I track funnel? Which ELD does it convert to with the product subsystem? With HR, how do I recruit? How do I train? What should be the NEC education cycle for the subsystem? New initiative, blah, blah. So BD, what are the partners available? What are the potential partners? Do we have already potential leads in pipeline? We can pitch this to stuff like that. So these are the kind of initiatives and the conversations you need to have with the subsystems. Then go forward with designing the national initiative. So the preparation you need, like I'll just leave it with this slide. You can go into details into the whole innovation capacity hub. So you need to do like a quantitative, qualitative research and assumption creation where you understand this kind of initiative. Does it even make sense in the first place to have? Do you have enough supporting data to know that this works in this market? Can we take some customer interviews, or can we just talk to some of the partners to see if this is even a viable initiative or not, to even work and invest resources into? So once you've done this, you're prepared, you're ready to go to design the initiative. Okay. There's something in the chat. Funny thing is I'm BD player also, so looking forward to this academy. Okay. Some LCs, that's nice. Some LCs run stakeholders event with parents, teachers, alumni that falls into PR event, right? Does ELD conversion also have a cross-selling part or just good? So no, this won't be an EVA event. This would be like your BD event, which would be like a stakeholder summit. Again, as I mentioned, EVA event is specifically for the objective where you have EVA and then you follow all the 4 grants principles, all the EVA principles. Is it about leadership development? Is it following the brand principle? Is it following the finance principle? Is it generating profit? Is it aligned to asset brand? So only then those are called EVA initiatives. So once you've done this, I highly recommend you to go. Yes, Shelly, you raise your hand. Tell me.
Yes, just like a quick follow-up question about that. So I was just having a conversation about this with a VP yesterday, and I did tell them, of course, this is a BD event, and it was pretty clear. But I was just thinking that you do have alumni coming in at such events and partners, and you could sell your other products to them, like as a B2B customer. So in a way, it's still converting to an ELD program, but it's not youth going through that experience. So do we have a sort of a funnel for that, or any principles for that?
So it's very tricky. Like it's BD event. The objective is BD. The objective is PR, and you're trying to sneak in the ELD aspect to it. I mean, it's of course possible. It's not no. There is no hard and fast rule. Okay, this is EVA, this is this. But then it depends on how you recognize it. If the golden rule, I think I would suggest you to follow is look at the objective of the event itself. That's why the first thing here is not like what are your requirements, because the first thing here is what the customer needs. Like who are you doing this event or an initiative for, and what is the value proposition they're going to get out of it. So once you're clear with that, then you know if it's an EY related stuff or it's a BB related stuff you're going to get. So if it's a main product you're delivering, or if it's a value added benefit. If it's a value added benefit, then you can recognize it as a BD. Otherwise, you can categorize it as an EY and then run it under you. So hope that does answer your question. Cool. So once you have these things and already have done the research, I highly suggest you to go to this. It's called like a design sprint or a framework. So we've given you this. You can directly give this to the LCs also. I see some of you are already here. So this is the methodology we've actually used to create like a lot of products, ELD innovation, EY innovation, even on a global scale. H4TF was conceived using this framework itself. So there is whole checklist given how to come up with a prototype, how to come up with a new EY initiative, what all things you should do, how you should prepare, how you should map out the journey, everything like map, sketch, decide, prototype, and test. So you can use this design sprints, and there is a quick 5 minutes explanation video is also given. So if you really want to work with LCs and more streamline more into how LCs are coming up with their initiatives, this is one of the framework you could give them to and ask them to start designing their frameworks using this paper. I hope you have seen this in the past. If not, then if you're seeing it for the first time, it's okay. There are some links also given. You can check these booklets, facilitation guides, everything is here. Maybe you can run it in one of your commission calls, maybe run it in a summit or something. But this is a really interesting activity you could take up if you want to come up with a new initiative. So design sprint worksheet template. Actually, some of the things with our platforms, expert development, PH4 development is also done using the sprint framework. This is very interesting. So there is an agenda also given. So if you want to do it over the 5 days and stuff. If not, then you could do it in a summit. Like if this is given for like a 3 hours or 4 hours per day agenda, but then if you can do it over summit, give some homework, have maybe some focus groups, depends on how. So if you have an SEO, maybe say 5 of them are interested in new initiatives, then with just 5 of them, you could do like a 3 days overnight summit and then you could get this done. Stuff. So yeah, this is a one good tool you can use. There are videos, guidelines, everything. If you need any more help, let me know as well. I can give you more additional supporting materials. So this is for the designing of the initiatives. But remember, this will just create a prototype. So once you are done with this, once you have the testing phase also done, what you need to do is come up with a business model. So once you have MVP, which is a minimum viable product, then you need to come up with a business model. So what exactly is the business model going to be for this initiatives? And that may look like, I hope all of you know business models by now. Is there anyone here who doesn't know business model? 3, 2, 1, 2. So all of you know business models, right? So the idea of these design sprints is to come up with a viable product and a business model. So once you have a business model, you are ready to go to the next step, which is, I've mentioned governance. So why immediately governance? Of course, you test it, you check if it's viable for the partners, if it checks with the viable for the youth and everything. I've considered everything that in the design phase, that you've checked the viability of the product, of the business model, and you're done with the business model. You know now this is a product. Then I would suggest you to go to the next step, which is the governance part of it. So based on the business model, the governance should have like a following element. What exactly is the initiative? Why? What is the process of building the initiative? Is LCs want to do it themselves? How they funnel, the key stages. What should be the compulsory activities, the customers, revenue streams. So if you see, this is all the things from the business model itself, the revenue, the customer, key activities, stuff like that. These are the elements of business model. I put the governance model itself. Now, say for example, H4TF, we putting into the upcoming legislation business model of the H4TF in the governance system, so that we can govern it. That's why it's open to anyone and everyone now. We are not piloting it. What is the brand? What is the safety? What is the budget policies? You should put these things. So, for example, Jaleel in Pakistan, many LCs are doing initiatives, right? Then it becomes really hard for you to control. What if they don't follow brand principle? What if there is a brand violation? What if there is a loss created by the EY initiatives? Like how, then it doesn't make sense for the entity to run it, right, as an initiative. So how do you govern those things? How can you make maximum utilization? If you can put it under the governance and legislate it properly, clearly define all these things, then what you can do is you can initiate things like national sales. You can initiate things like regional sales. How do you do things like this? So make sure that you put like a proper governance system. This also comes under, this has become your synergy point with your finance people or legal people. Like how do you, or whoever is the governance responsible for your entity. So you define the initiative completely. I hope, like, I don't know if some of your BD background, so you're aware of the BD, right? So entity sales, how does it happen? How much percentage goes to whom and what? There is a EY initiative you come up with the nationally, how much percentage you need go to LC, how much percent revenue will come, how the split is going to be decided. What if the LC is then they get 80% or 20%, whatever it is. So these kind of answers for budgets and branding and everything, which you can decide and then go forward with running the EY initiatives. So once you have the design, once you have the whole governance system in process, you got to start implementing it. But before implementing, you need people to implement it. So what is the kind of structure, what is the kind of HR you want to invest into this EY initiative? So that's the structure guideline we had released like a long time ago. I don't know if we have it even sent, not this, this one, the EVA structure one. This is the link. Let me just put it. So depending on the volume of EVA you're planning to do in the next year, I would suggest you to just quickly check this in once. Okay. This is how it looks like. This is how it looks. So this was a proposal for 2021 term, even before we had the MC. So if your volume is low, medium, or high, the definition is given here. So if you're just not any activity, just national events, then you can consider as low. Medium is just youth speak and one or the more LCs running some EVA initiatives. High, if it's you're planning youth speak and the other even national initiatives, and also a lot of LCs are doing a lot of EVA activities. So, and depending on the EVA priority you have, low, medium, an MC structure suggested, and even an LC structure suggested. So it's very simple and like who can like dual. The BD, ICX, or OGX can dual at an LC level, but at an MC level, if you have high priority, you should have like a designated person for it. So if not, then I would highly recommend, if you're not the sole person managing EVA and you have other responsibilities, well, but your entity priority is high. Say for example, I'll just give an example. I don't know that scenario. Sole responsible for BD as well as PR as well as some marketing angle plus this thing EVA, and then you have a lot of change management coming, that will become difficult for you. So maybe have like a high NST structures, or distribute some of your JD to say marketing or someone else, or check how do you want to manage your detailed aspect. This is a suggestion on an MC and LC level, but how can you manage also LCs is something you should manage it based on the amount of KPIs you want to track. So this is like the MC structure recommendation. So clarify the kind of responsibilities you want to give it to, say, LC EVA. So you have like a high priority and you have an LC structures, the BD structures or a commission structure for EVA, then define the responsibilities, stakeholders management. Is it creating national EVA products or working with the national or managing EVA sales? Who's going to do what? Are you going to manage? Are you going to have like NSTs, ESTs to do this? Who is going to manage what? Who's going to manage youth speak? Are you going to have national CC or like a local CC? Stuff like this. Say, for example, entity like Cambodia, Nepal, or even MOC, if I'm not wrong, if they want to run like a youth speak, they usually have like a national CC and then they run it. But then entity like Malaysia or even India, they have local LCs, and even Indonesia, they have local LCs, they can just go ahead and do it. Things like this. These are the kind of decisions you need to take. And track these commission based on these matrices, like percentage revenue from the initiative, overall revenue, number of participants. These are the two global matrices. And apart from that, you can track, say, number of initiatives executed, MC budget contribution from partners. So if you're having some LCs upscaling their initiatives or partners to national, so how do you contribute? How do you calculate that partner contribution? Stuff like that. Like you can come up with your initiatives, but these are some sample ones we've given. Conversion from ELD to EVA and retention overall of partners. I think this is a target which is not like, this is a target we should watch out for, this percentage retention of partners, because especially like entities who having high GV volumes, like India, for example, in the past, they will have troubles if the GV operations are not running as heavily as possible. LC level partnerships, LC level boards, all these partners would start getting, you will lose a lot of them if you don't engage them with some sort of another initiative, and that's like a brand, that's like a bad PR for the brand itself. So just be aware of this. Maybe like partner retention, how you're doing this with EVA initiatives, and is there a need for you to create a new national initiative just to engage GV people and stuff like that? Maybe this is a conversation. So structures. So once you have like a MC structure, LC structure, responsible people for all of your initiatives, the whole timeline when you're going to recruit them, select them. I'm not going to go into details. Like, I think Abhishek is good in creating OCCCs. We have a lot of experience in that. Then something which you learned just today, which is managing the whole project management aspect of it all. I'm not going to go again detail. This already went through this. How do you initiate, plan, execute, post the whole event? He gave you this list, the whole exhaustive list today in the morning itself. For your planning, like once you have the whole planning, how do you go about identifying, defining roles, HR map, planning, onboarding, stakeholder mapping, feedback, execution of the event, like delivery, reporting, and closing. So, like the managed part, you almost covered everything. You also technically covered the report, which is, I'm not going to go into details of it. Are you guys clear so far? With me, give me a thumbs up. And last but not the least, which is the report. So this is the last part. In report, you should have like a clear reporting system for your LCs to report up the national initiatives that come up with. Three sort of reportings need to happen. Like the overall activities report, initiatives, what happened, when did they start planning, how did they start planning, what was the challenges faced, and stuff like that. Overall financial reporting, budget, whatever spent, expenses they did, any profits they gained, did they charge, what was the pricing model, did they charge per delegate or did they charge only partners, or it was free for delegates, what sort of an initiative works in what market. That would be like an interesting thing in the financial reporting. Results and impact, number of youths attended the event, number of partners attended the event. I think the report part, I can give you a hack to manage this. I think if you put these reportings into your RNR criteria as a BD or even as a EVA RNR, that makes your life easy. Then all the LCs like who are generally competitive, I know like all the entities here are like very competitive in terms of cases. So then they come up with like a lot of good materials, proper documentation and everything for this reporting. So make sure that you encourage this reporting in your commission as well. And lessons learned and future plans for the initiative also. If you want to continue this 2 years, upscale or increase, or make it a regional initiative, make it an international initiative. You could have these stages, like an LC initiative can become like a regional one, like a national one, and even an international one if they follow certain standards. You could have interesting R&Rs around this. Maybe you could have some sort of scholarships or I don't know, partner incentives, maybe some money invested from MC side if the initiative really completes all the checklist. Like depends. Like you can come up with the various things, but make sure that the proper reporting happens. The only not restriction, the only rule we have from the global and the regional side is whatever you're doing, you should report it. Like if you recognize an initiative as an official initiative in your entity, you should report it in your SOGA and your goal achievement targets survey. So these are the only two things. And others, if in the future, if you come up with like a regional level dashboard or something. So I think most of the entities are doing it. There was some entities who didn't do it. So please make sure that you report in your SOGA all the initiatives which you do. I think I was missing, I'm not sure, but if I remember correctly, I think I was missing Vietnam in the last SOGA. So just make sure that you report all the EVA initiatives in the SOGA and goal achievements and the others if you recognize it as an official initiative. So yeah, that's it for the session. Before I put you into breakout, do you guys have any questions or you want to share anything so far?
I want to ask.
Go ahead.
Because we have the metrics of conversion rate between from EWA to ELD, but like in YE, our target profile is high school, so we have to wait. They become on ELD. So how can we calculate that metric?
Yeah, so if you define the objective that they're not going to be conversion to ELD, that's why it is not a restricting principle for you to have like an EVA initiative. It's a good initiative. It's not just you. There are a lot of entities in the world who have engagement for high school students as an initiative. So you don't necessarily report it as an ELD conversion, but what you could do is maybe some sort of a lead nurturing for them until they become like an ELD, potential ELD customer. Say, to give an example, I went to in an LC where I went for an internship in Russia. So that town, they didn't speak English. English was their third language, right? So one of their EVA initiatives was to show movies to high school students. Okay, that time, and they had like a government support. Government used to give them like a theater every month, and they could screen a couple of English movies, and that's how they used to engage high school students with ISEC activities. And their idea was they used to tell these high school students that be engaged with ISEC to improve your English, become more international student and stuff like that. So that was the message, and that's how they used to create a pipeline for membership, then create a pipeline for their GV products back then. So this is totally fine. This could be an EVA initiative. This could be one of the things you could try or experiment with. But if you don't have the ELD conversion, because technically, since it's legislated, right, ELD cannot be less than 18. So you can't witness report it. So it's okay, don't report it for that initiative. But for us, where it can happen, make sure that you do report it. Depends on the objective of the program. So that's what I would say. I hope that does answer your question. Yes. Iko, go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually have the same issue for the key metrics of the retention rate from EWA to ELD, because for now, ISEC Indonesia are trying to reverse the key metrics, which is from the ELD who actually has been the applicant for GV, and we're trying to convert them to EWA. Is it like okay for making the different key metrics for the operation?
Yeah, globally and regionally, we'll be only tracking you on two matrices. One, percentage revenue from contribution for EVA, and second, number of youths engaged. So these are the only two matrices we need to report globally. But then nationally, I suggested you to count the percentage retention, because you never know when things are going to get better, and then you're going to start having, say, what if the borders open tomorrow? What if your key IR partners with Indonesia, you can start doing GV, or you get really better at GV. So how do you know that you have enough funnel in EVA to convert to ELD? So that time you don't have to do market research if you already have this data. Does it make sense? So we're already engaging high school students and then they become 18 plus by then, and then they are a potential GTA candidate or a GTE candidate 2 years down the line, then you already have that data. So that's why I encourage you to track. And the retention point I mentioned was about partners specifically. So for partners also, like how you're engaging them. Do you have, this is one of the problems right now we have in AP. We have a lot of initiatives which are engaging youths, but very few initiatives which are engaging partners. Like employer branding initiatives. Say, for example, what we are doing with Invest on right now. This is not like an employer branding, but technically like a partner strategy, right? With Mind Valley, for example, you all attended the Mind Valley session today. Were you there? Were you guys there? I don't know if you guys were there. So if you were there, then there was an employer branding event technically, right? So bicycles get to know about Mind Valley, and maybe when they leave bicycle, maybe they would want to join Mind Valley or buy Mind Valley's product, whatever it is. So this is the kind of partnership we have for employer branding. So, and that is the way we are retaining Mind Valley partners, even though we are not able to delivering them GP on a regular basis and stuff like that because of whatever restrictions. So just giving an example. So that's, you can work on that percentage retention of partners also. And it is completely okay for your question. You mentioned that you are tracking ELD to EVA back conversion. Just make sure that if you're doing that, it's something very tricky and new, right? Just track which phase of ELD they were also. Like, did they just signed up, or were they approved, or were they applied, so that you know what is the conversion rates in each phase also. Because usually the people who are a break approval, they are already considered as your like technically you're supposed to give them refund and stuff like that, right? So just track that in a bit more detail. How many percentage yearly to EVA you're checking, and from which funnel are the rewards bouncing back? Yeah, that's what I would suggest. Cool, proceed here. Any other questions? I'm also thinking of target GV signups. Now it's dormant for the year. Yeah, very important. Going thrice, twice. If not, then I could put you into, okay, how many of us are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? I'm gonna put you into, okay, do I need to put you into breakouts? Yeah, I'm just gonna give you some working time here now. Just go to this EVA goals sheet. I'm gonna just mute myself here, and I want you to discuss what are the EVA initiatives you're doing. Do you have like a proper design, business model, governance structure, project management system, and report for it? Let me show my screen. So just a quick simple spreadsheet I shared with all of you already. Just put your entity name of the initiatives. If you have multiple, then put like India, and then name of the initiatives. If any LCs are participating, if you already have design, business model, governance, any challenges are you facing, any support you need for this initiative. So I'll be focusing on these two so that I can make sure that we can provide support to the commission needs. So I'm gonna put you, yeah, I'm just gonna play 2 songs and then come back to this. Okay. Because to be honest, I don't have any way right now to track your LC initiatives. Like you won't report it anywhere as well, and we don't have one sort of tracker. So I thought just initiate and see where it goes. I'm gonna play a couple of songs. If you have any requests, you can send. View only, not edit. Shoot, my bad. Okay, give me a second. Sorry. You can, yeah, updated it already. You can edit now. Go ahead.
She played the fiddle in an Irish band, but she felt
Completed. So in the next commission call or in the next spaces, we can discuss this further and how we can support each other and all. That's pretty much it for the session. Do you have any questions, doubt, anything you want to share? Something you've written, you need support for, or you can provide support. Going once, going twice, going thrice. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can put it later as well. No worries. So yeah, keep finishing it. This is for us. This is, I don't need to report it anywhere. There's no hurry also. But just make sure that you do it by planning at max. By the end of the planning, you can complete this so that all of us in the commission know what are the things you're running and we can support each other as well. So yeah, these are some important links. If you have any questions for the AI FASCs or for me, just put in this thing. I'll answer it here. And yeah, don't forget to give me feedback for this space and go to your next space. Tony is already ready for you for Harvest the Learning Space. It's happening in the main room. So just follow your calendar link and you can go there. Let me send you the link. No worries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prayo. Have a good day. See you guys.
Bye. Good evening. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.